G'day hobbyists, this is going to be a quick video on technical paints and rust effects. Now, I recently painted this Nurgle Chaos Lord. Let's see here. Alright. Alright, so this guy I painted recently as part of a painting challenge. And I used Nurgle's Rot and Nicola Oxide and Blood for the Blood God technical paints on him. Now, you can see the Blood for Blood God on the axe and some of his wounds, they're open weeping wounds, and Blood for the Blood God has a shiny finish, which I reckon is perfect for those sort of weeping wounds and making him stick out for being all gory and seeping like that. And Nurgle's Rot is something I hadn't used before. I'd used Blood for the Blood God before. The Nurgle's Rot I used on his blisters, where he's got some on his shoulder there, and some more scattered around his body and on his leg, and gave a sort of seeping, shiny finish to the blisters, very disgusting. And if you put this on really thick, then you get a yellow slimy look. I also put it on the slime coming out of his stomach, as you can see from the axe handle there, and on the ground, on the rock. And the Nicola Oxide I was using, that was also one I hadn't used before. I was using it for a bronze patina, like a rust on his bronze, which is this sort of bright blue, if you had to look at some reference pictures of actual bronze rust. Now, rust builds up in sort of layers and such on sort of exposed surfaces of metal. So to get the right effect, I sort of lightly overbrushed and sort of seeped into some parts with a brush, the Nicola Oxide. Like I was kind of dry brushing it over, so like rust that had formed up, and other parts I sort of let it pool to be like sort of water drips, like rust that had formed that way. And yeah, it was kind of odd, like it was a bit of a new experience, but I reckon I got a pretty good result with the Nicola Oxide. You just leave it sort of thinner in some parts, thicker in others, and it gives you a sort of rusted bronze look, so it's sort of aged and decayed, which sort of suits the Nurgle theme for this guy. Now the axe here, that's meant to be iron, as you can sort of tell from the rust being orange and the bright silver parts. Oh, so I can get a decent shot of that. Anyhow, the way I do iron, there's no technical paint for like iron oxide or rust. I use a bit of Rhinox hide and Balthazar gold here. I mix them up, and that's my base. Like a little bit of Balthazar, mostly scorched brown. That's your base. You got a really dark brown base for your rust, because that's how real rust looks, dark reddish brown. Then you can also mix in a bit of your silver if you want to sort of as your base, but not a lot. Then you use just a little bit of these again, but you mix in some Trollslayer orange, because rust lightens up from reddish to bright orange. And then you layer it on a bit lighter, more raised parts, and then the final thing you do is a small amount of Trollslayer and Rhinox hide, but more Trollslayer than Rhinox mixed together. And then the very last thing you can do is very lightly dry brush onto the raised bits with Trollslayer. That gives you that sort of bright orange oxide look. And you just want to get it on some very raised parts, like it's rust that's built up right on the edges. It's really fresh rust, and that gives you a nice effect like this. Yeah, so this is the guy. I was also trying to do some lighting effects, like green glow around the eyes. I'm not entirely happy with how that turned out, but it's alright. Alright, I hope that video was instructional, and have a good day.